Thanks for joining us this morning as we review the 2013 movie Gravity, otherwise known as
Murphy's Law in space.
Yeah, it was. I had not seen this movie when it originally came out. We're going to give you our review, what we thought. We're going to give you a theatrical kind of overview of the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of the movie. And then we're going to also dive in and look for Christian themes that are in the movie. Say, is there anything there we can pull out that say, hey, this is really cool? And look at some other things. So if you have seen the movie and you want to make comments about it, please give us your input in the comments section. We're going to take a look at comments here in a little bit and see what your reaction was to it as well. The overall premise of the movie goes something like this. At 370 miles above planet Earth, the temperature fluctuates between 258 degrees and minus 148 degrees Fahrenheit. There is nothing to carry sound. No air, no pressure, no oxygen. Life in space is impossible. In this vast expanse, two astronauts are thrust into a dance with destiny. Dr. Ryan Stone, a brilliant but inexperienced medical engineer, and the seasoned veteran astronaut Matt Kowalski embark on what seems like a routine mission. Little do they know that disaster approaches them at 20 times faster than the speeding bullet. As the astronauts glide through their weightless abyss, a routine spacewalk turns into a nightmare and heart-stopping void. A relentless struggle unfolds, echoes with the whispers of fear, the resistance of the human spirit, and the unwavering pursuit of hope. Clooney and Bullock, a stellar dual cast, adrift against a black drop of infinity, guide you through an odyssey where every heartbeat reverberates in the cosmic silence.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so that trailer ended faster than I thought because it was supposed to be longer. Okay.
Or you just spoke really slow. I don't know.
I got more text, but we'll just leave it at that. So the basic idea is that you have the astronauts out there doing some work on was then the telescope Hubble, and working on this, and they get information that something is coming. And I don't want to get too much into the spoiler because that'll be spoilers. But you pretty much see it happening in the trailer anyway, is that some kind of debris, something is happening that is coming their way and sends them adrift, puts them into a really precarious situation. If you can imagine being adrift at sea and not having a life vest, or even if you're a really good swimmer, if it's the frigid North Atlantic, you only have so many minutes. But there's something there. When you're adrift in space, that's an entirely different level of fear.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you look down, there's nothing between you and the Earth, hundreds of miles, kilometers below. That would be enough of a thriller, I think. Just that premise itself is enough to get you going. Question is enough to keep you going for an entire movie? Is there enough there to do it? So since this movie has been out for such a long time, we're going to do a little bit, maybe some spoilers are going to sneak in a little bit, but hopefully not too much. We're going to divide this into two sections. What is your rating of the movie?
I thought it was okay, all in all. If you like thrillers, if you like suspenseful movies, I think this one will be enjoyable for you, all in all. I'd say if I were to give it out of 10, I'd give it probably 6.
Really? Okay. I would put it more at a 7.5 or so for the type of movie that it is. And this isn't something I enjoy science fiction. This would be considered hard sci-fi. And what hard sci-fi is that you go through and make sure that every part is physically plausible according to the laws of physics. And in this case, they paid very close attention to what space life would be like. What would it be like doing a spacewalk? What would it be like being adrift? What all these different conditions. They consulted with astronauts, physicists. They pulled it all together It took a long time to develop the actual physics of the movie to make it look accurate. And given all that, I would say a 9 or a 10 on that level. If you're looking for that type of movie, I think they hit it spot on. There was one spot where I thought maybe they were off a little bit on their physics, but after some consideration, I thought, you know what? No, they were right. We'll get to that in a minute. So why would you put it at a 6? Was there a particular reason?
6, I guess that'd be mostly my feeling of it. I think there are a lot of slow spots.
Okay.
There are a lot of, and I see why they did it, tried to build up suspense, but it didn't land very well with me.
Okay.
Pun included.
Well, that's true. If you can imagine this type of situation, the more realistic you make something be, you can verge on something that's a little more boring. And there are spaces in between in this movie where there's gaps where it just seems the pacing seems a little slow. But to put it on the scale of space, you have to do it. But those are really punctuated by a lot of excitement.
Yes.
It seems like nothing's happening, then boom, something does.
Now, I do love the use of, or the lack of use of sound. I think it was very powerful.
Right. If you watch the trailer, you see some of these explosions and some of the space shuttle and other space station, things like that, being ripped apart. You hear the sound in the trailer.
Yeah, you don't.
But in the movie, you don't. And they did a good job with, you just, from the astronaut's point of view, just hearing like you're in the helmet and you hear your own breathing, your own heartbeat, and there's reflection on the helmet screen itself. So you're partially visually impaired, and if you don't have any communication with that other person or from ground control, you just hear yourself and maybe what comes through your suit. There was one time where she was using a drill to take off a bolt. And I thought they did a good job with the sound. You just hear the really low. Now, if you're using this like power drill like that, take off a bolt, you'd hear in real life. You'd hear that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you just hear it through the suit itself, not through the sound, through the air, because there's no air, right? So there are some Christian themes here that would be that I think you can pull out. This movie isn't specifically a Christian movie, but we can still look at some things and say, you know what, that really resonates really well. There's some aspects there that we can pull out. We're looking at courage in the face of certain death, seeing God in the vastness of his creation, and one that I'm going to talk about, we'll get into this later because this is going to be in the spoiler section. Tech alone won't cut it. So would you add anything spoiler-free to any of the Christian themes? Perseverance. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Perseverance in the face of what would seem to be doom.
Right. No way out. There, you might be tempted just to give up at so many points, just wanting to give up. So I'm going to take a look at the comment section here. And
hey, Francis.
Let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up. Oh, hey, yeah, we're actually speaking this time. We're not muted, so it's a good thing.
We found the
so we're looking for if anybody has seen this movie, if they can make comments on it. We know that at least one of you in the live chat I've recognized has mentioned that she's already seen this movie in the past, so she had some comments about it. The characters in the movie, since this is focused so much on almost like a Robinson Crusoe, Lost in Space, no pun intended, we've already done that one, type of situation, you're focused on a couple of people in particular, just mainly two characters in the movie. And those are Ryan Stone, played by Sandra Bullock, and Lieutenant Matthew Kowalski, played by George Clooney. And on this shot, you see also the director of the film. It's also as well.
Kowalski's my favorite character.
Kowalski is your favorite character. Yeah, I could see that. So during this movie, you have basically focusing on Sandra Bullock's character being stranded in different situations there, being lost. It in the sense of weightlessness, do you get the feeling of falling constantly all the time? And it need to overcome that sense of vertigo, and then add to that any kind of, if you've been cast off, spinning that you're going on. And I don't know, in that situation, I'd be afraid of, vomiting in my helmet. And then, what are you going to do then? Fortunately, they did not show that. So that was a good thing that was in it. And just out there alone, tethered in space. So I'll pull this up. All right. Some of the trivia that was going on with this. Gravity was one of the most successful science fiction films of all time. If you look just at the box office and the ratings with it. Now, of course, it didn't make as much as a lot of other ones like Star Wars and other major blockbuster films like that. But still, it was a successful film. And it was also a hit for both Sandra Bullock and George Clooney's careers. What would you say, spoiler free, are the pros for this movie?
And like I said, I'd say perseverance all in all, likable characters. At least the Matthew character is very likable, very endearing. The main characters so.
Okay.
I thought she had a lot of area to expand.
What do you mean by that?
There just seems to be sometimes that were bland. Sometimes that was supposed to be like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I need to get this time critical thing done. I'm going to relax for a little bit. And
we could talk about that in the spoiler section. I think there was a couple of points. I think that was a thematic theme. They were trying to pull out something thematically with it. I read some things about that later. And but all in all, now when they did the filming of this, they used a new technique. They put Sandra Bullock within this like large sphere lined with LED lights, thousands and thousands of them, to simulate space. So that part of this was not CGI. It was also real. And when she was in this sphere, it took her a while to get into it. And she would stay there for 10 hours at a shot during the day. So they would do all filming, and then she would be on harnesses and to do all this. So there was a lot of, she made a lot on this movie, but still it was not the most comfortable situation to be in.
Talking about perseverance.
Yes. So it would be a pro that would be in there. So physically, maybe some of that was not acting. It's like, I could feel like I'm going to fall off this thing. It was cinematography. It was like an IMAX style Discovery Channel documentary. It was the 3D and effects in space would have made it even more stunning. Unfortunately, you don't get that on the standard home theater sitting down and watching with your family. I would have loved to have seen this in a 3D IMAX theater. I think the experience would have been
I missed
totally different having seen that.
When it came out, I thought it was more horror-y.
Oh, really? Like a horror flick?
I thought it was more going to be more horror-y.
Okay.
So more like a horror flick.
Also realistic. That was another pro that I would say in here, that efforts were made to appear as realistic as possible, especially the recreation of weightlessness. Took months to design and years to shoot it. Actually took a good deal of time. Avatar, the movie Avatar, was about 60% CGI. And pretty much anybody watching it would make that guess. This movie was 80% CGI.
I was about to say 60% CGI for Avatar seems low.
Yeah, it does seem low, but
all things considered.
Yeah, this was supposed to be 80%. And according to NASA astronaut Michael Massimino, who took part in the Hubble Space Telescope servicing missions, said that nothing was out of place. Nothing was missing. There was a one-of-kind wire cutter that was used in one of my spacewalks. And sure enough, They had that wire cutter in the movie. So
That's cool.
yeah, like I said, there was a lot of attention to detail. And there was, I think they call it gravity. But I think of all the physical phenomena that there is out there, I think it maybe should have been called inertia instead, because
I don't think inertia is as catchy.
well, I know, but if you're looking at the laws of physics, more inertia has more to play in this than actually gravity itself.
And it's not like gravity was too much of a threat through most of the film.
No, not until
most of it was, oh shoot, where's Earth?
And that is, I think, maybe the third pro that I'd say on here is the drifting in space, is the terror that would be there. I don't have a problem with heights. My wife does. And I could not imagine her. She could not imagine herself being an astronaut with just looking down and seeing the Earth right below you. Now, granted, gravity is not going to grab you just then if you're in a high enough orbit. But still, just that feeling itself would be enough. The question is this enough to keep the movie going, having the threat of being adrift? And that would bring us to the cons. You already mentioned before the long pauses.
Pauses, pacing issues, I would say is a problem. All in all.
Okay.
But considering space is mostly empty, I'm not sure how you would get away with that.
That would be difficult to try to.
Unless you put Doctor Who in or something like that.
I don't know. This is hard sci-fi, so you got to. I don't think you can get away with that.
Oh, fine.
So we're gonna hit the spoilers section. Be forewarned, if you have not seen this movie and you do want to see it, you might be entering territory right now where we might be ruining it for you. On the other hand, if you're going to see it anyway, or if you have seen it and you don't care about the spoiler section, welcome as we go forward. So, unveiling Christian themes a little bit more. We talked a little bit about a preview. Let's talk about courage in the face of certain death. Now, Matthew Kowalski, the character that you like so much.
Very stoic, very down to earth, very get this objective done.
Right. He was level-headed, even-tempered, and unfazed. He was the audience's guide through the movie to give us comfort and courage through it. And more specifically, Dr. Stone's character Dr. Stone, to give her courage in doing this, but then, as the audience, we're seeing it through her eyes. He reports back to Houston using all sorts of phrases you would expect, like Houston reporting back in the blind, meaning that he wasn't able to get a hold of them. And he tells Sandra Bullock's character, "You have to let me go." He continued to give her instructions as he was floating away to his death, calm and sad that what if, I could see this as a Christian. As a Christian, you would look at this and say, I'm giving up my life for you because we're going to both die in this situation unless I let go. And then as he's drifting off, just the calmness, and these are going to be his last few moments. And still in the face of death, he sees beauty. Now, as a Christian, I could see that. As a non-believer, I could see that too. But unless as a non-believer, you get reality real quick to say, I got to get my life right with God. Because if I'm not, this beauty is not going to be here for very much longer. And that's it. Not very nice on the other side.
No, like I said, very favorite character all in all. Being able just to, okay, this is what we got to do. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to die. That's okay. Let's get you inside. Let's get you where you need to be. Let's get your objectives done. You will survive. You will live through this. Let's get you to where you need to be.
Right. He is the kind of leader that you want. This is the kind of guy that you would follow. Say, okay, yes, sir. Let's do this. And he loved life. He saw the beauty and the wonder. He rode the wave, embracing it. And this is the second theme that I see in this, is seeing God in the vastness of his creation. Kowalski's character didn't hold on to it too hard. Even though he loved life, he was willing to give it up for her. And this is a real picture of Christianity. The Revelation says that they overcame him, the enemy, because of the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony, and they loved not their life to death. It means we're not holding on to it too hard. That Jesus said, if you give up your life for his sake, you'll regain it. So it's that forfeiture of life that he had there to give her, give the other astronaut a chance to live. So he have his love for life, like you said, he stayed calm and everything, and he just, with that calmness, he was able to see the beauty of creation. Number 3, tech won't cut it. Our best technology has put people into space and on the moon. It sent probes to other planets in our solar system, and it's taken material samples from asteroids, comets. But in the end, even our best tech fails. It cannot bring us eternal security. We leave it behind when we die. Even other people failed us, but God never does. And so we have to be careful what we put our security into. I grew up in Southern California, Los Angeles area, and we had our share of earthquakes. And it's funny what comes out of even an atheist's mouth when the ground beneath your feet starts to shake and give way. When even the things that you trust the most are not reliable, the first thing the atheist would say, "Oh my God!" And I say, "Yes. Would you like to talk about him? Would you like to meet him? You may soon." So these are the things that we should probably focus in a little bit when you lose everything, when tech and everything that you in this world you think you can rely on, you really can't. It nothing lasts but God. So I'm going to take a quick look at the comments here. Yes, yes, Francis is saying amen. This is pretty much to it. I don't know if you're talking about the response to the tech part, but yes, there's only so much that we can rely on it, and we rely on technology all the time. I mean, the very fact that we're doing what we're doing is technology based, and it's good stuff. I like it, but it's not as good as God. I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Okay, in the scene which Kowalski unclips the tether. Now, I'm wondering if, because we were talking earlier about them being so focused on making this realistic, to make sure that the gravity and the physics and everything work well, the lack of gravity and so forth. When Dr. Stone is attached and tethered to Kowalski, and it's that moment where they are flying around in space and they're trying to grab a hold of the International Space Station to say that we can use this then as a means to get back. They miss it. They go to grab it and they miss, and they go back and they're flying off into space. This is going to be it. If they don't grab a hold, it's all over. Fortunately, her leg gets tangled in one of the lines of the parachute of I think a Soyuz spacecraft that had accidentally deployed, and there's all these lines that are floating around in space, and it grabbed her, and she's holding on to the tether that's leading to Kowalski, and he is being pulled back. And I thought, well, wait a minute, they've already lost their momentum going out. The tether has grabbed her. They're still relative to the space station. Why is he still going out? I didn't understand that. Was that?
He's not necessarily.
Yeah, he's pulled out because she can.
The space station is moving. Yeah,
but they're in sync with it now. They're moving with it. So so they're moving with the space station at that time because they've lost their momentum.
Okay.
So they're in the same relative speed. The only thing I can think of is if that space station is rotating and they're rotating with it, he's out further than she is. So there's angular momentum and he's being pulled out from her just because of the rotation. And in that case, you can see the rope is starting, the line is starting to let loose on her leg.
Okay.
And she's starting to slip. He sees that she's slipping and he says, go. And I'm thinking, why is he still going? The only thing I can think of was angular momentum. So they may have been right on that. I thought they were wrong. But if it was angular momentum, they do have that. I'm going to put up this comment from Threat and Sanity. She says, if an atheist turns to God even at in the last moment, even because they need, that is an awesome thing. Nothing to laugh about. Yeah, that is true. We hope, that would be the case. You look at and if there's any example you needed that, one of the only few people we know for sure in the New Testament that made it to heaven would have been the thief on the cross who was next to Jesus. And he said that you'll be with me today in paradise. That is a confirmation that we have. And it was a last minute conversion.
Oh, yeah.
So
talk about last minute.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm up here on the cross. Okay. Let's get my life right.
Yeah. And now the tragedy is, you have people that today that say, I've run into people who say, I'll just, you know what? I want to live my life to the fullest. And at the last minute, if it's right, then I'll make the decision then. Well, I've seen enough people in their last stages of their life. They usually don't make that change. They just continue riding that wave in the wrong direction.
Then you never know.
And you never know what's going to happen.
Never know.
And the third thing is, you are not gaining your life by living for yourself. You're losing it. You have not as much. You will have so much more with Christ. I'm not talking about material wealth or anything like that. I'm talking about something much deeper. And if you squander your life and try to wait for the last minute and time it just right, my timing's so terrible, I know I wouldn't be able to do it. If you try to wait for it like that, you're going to miss it. And you're also going to miss your entire life that you could have presented to God and say, here you go. You gave it to me. This is what I'm giving back to you. So don't wait. If anybody else is waiting out there, it's not worth it. So was there any spoiler-filled pros or cons that you would give for the movie?
I'd say the one scene where you have Kowalski's going out, he's spitting out there in space. Our main character's going back in, Ryan's going back in. She climbs in and then she takes a break.
Oh.
Right after telling the guy, hey, I'm going to go save you.
That's right.
And it's like,
yes.
I like Kowalski more than I do you. So can you move it? Can you go and actually save him?
Right.
Not that I think that she would have been hard pressed to save him, period. Just because she doesn't have the skill set needed. Where he did. And yeah, she doesn't end up saving him. No.
Okay, so this is where her oxygen is low. She finally gets in. She takes her helmet off to be able to breathe, and then she goes ahead and strips down basically to her undies, which, by the way, in those EV suits, this is something they technically got wrong. And those EV suits that they take out to do their spacewalks, because of the temperature differential and the extremes of temperature, they actually have these special undergarments with air conditioning. They're coils on them. If you ever see, you probably have seen pictures of them where they have these coils on it and they pump through cooling and heating system to keep their temperature consistent. But she takes off her suit, she's going to be wearing that.
Yeah.
And but I think you see her, she's in weightlessness and she gets into this fetal position where she curls up and just weightless. I can understand lack of oxygen is like, I need to clear my mind. I probably have this huge headache. But if I'm going to save this guy who's drifting further and further away, you get your butt out there. I think it was a thematic thing. When I was looking at what the director was saying later, she gets into this embryo, she coils up into this embryonic form, and they're supposed to show something like, I don't know, something about evolution or something like that involved with her coming into.
It just seems like a jerk move. Sorry, the guy just saved your life repeatedly, and the one time you get an opportunity to go save him, you just want to feel good for a little bit.
Yeah, this is not the time
wow,
to take a break.
Okay.
Right.
That guy still is my favorite
your friend's
character.
on fire, but you're going to go over there, fire. You know what? I need a smoke. I'm going to take a little smoke break.
Get some marshmallows.
Oh, my gosh. Heck no. So anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's about it. Other than just everything that could go wrong, did go wrong in this. And I still have an issue with her flying a ship in Chinese.
Well, they did
and
apparently
randomly pressing buttons to get out of this place.
Well, yes, apparently they had, and I didn't see it. She said she had 6 months of training, a lot of simulation training, but also in the Russian, I did not look this up to see if U.S. astronauts would be trained in Russian systems as well. And they said that the Russian system was very much like the Chinese system. So she was able to get from one to the other. But she pulls out this, why would a Soyuz spacecraft have an English manual in it? The manual that she takes out is in English.
Well, if it's in the International Space
Space
Station, I can see why you would have it
Yes.
there. I'm just surprised that all the buttons were in the same exact location whenever we got to the Chinese one.
Maybe they were manufactured at the same.
I could see that
same facility
manufacturer, but the very fact that she goes in there and says, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo," and presses a button, I'm like, you are going to die.
Well, you don't. She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
It's like, I hope this button works. Oh, that's a bad sound.
So we have a comment here from Adam. He said, "The Lord loves the humble and resists the proud. I'm starting to see what that means. I've been amazed at our ability to remain prideful in the face of overwhelming power. It's unreal." Yeah, there's a certain amount of hubris that comes with, if you're talking specifically about technology, that, oh, well, we can do anything with it. And we see it in our films a lot. Like, Star Trek, as much as I love Star Trek, the original, or, Next Generation, some of the older ones, you're able to get out of these jams by your ingenuity and your technology. And that's kind of a message from sci-fi. And there's a lot of ways there's truth to that. 150 years ago, there was a lot of concern about, before the automobile became popular, there's a lot of concern about, we're going to die because of horse poop. Manure is everywhere in the streets. It's going to kill us all. And that kind of exhaust from these animals was replaced by a new type of exhaust that we say, oh, our carbon footprint is too huge. We're going to kill ourselves. And who knows? There may be a new turn in technology that will make these type of problems obsolete. We don't have to worry about them anymore. I think there's a lot of that. We tend to worry too much, but there is hubris, huge amount. Would you say we're too prideful in our technology?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Pride goeth before the fall, and the fall might be really painful. At least the impact.
From how many miles above the earth? And then Threatened Sandy said, again, if an atheist truly, honestly, purely sees God in the last moments and not for an exchange in paradise, that is still a gift. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, and God knows the heart. He knows who are really calling on Him and not just out of fear, freaking out that they're probably not going to be going to a very nice place. So that was another con that I thought was in there. Was what else could go wrong?
I don't think very much.
I think they have this bag of all these things that can go wrong in space and just pull them out one by one. And there's space fires, there was explosions in the debris field, landing in water on a vehicle that's not designed to land in the water. After invincible plot armor. And after a while, I didn't feel the same level of tension. I knew she was going to make it. It was just a matter of, well, what's the next thing she's going to do to get out of this? So the level of tension I felt at the very beginning of the movie wasn't transferred later because there was this continual cycle of tension, release, and she got out of these all the time. Her plot armor was
really thick.
Invincible. Now, I did mention one of the inaccuracies about her suit not having the cooling system underneath it. Another thing, and these are just little kind of nitpicky things, but if we're going to try to make it realistic, maybe there are a couple of things might be mentioned. The stars were too bright in the daylight shots. When you take a picture of you have the Earth, and it's the sunny side of the Earth, and an actual picture from a space station or a spacecraft or whatever, you see the Earth, you look over the in space, you see black. Because the intensity of the light of the Earth outshines by orders of magnitude any of the stars that you're going to see in the sky. Now, in the nighttime, it would be toned down. That you'd be able to have longer exposure and be able to see the stars. On the other hand, it's a lot nicer to look at if you have the stars in space.
Talk about nitpicky.
Well, yeah, I know.
If that's one of the cons,
that's one of the cons.
You're really stretching.
It is because they did such a good job on it.
Such a great job on the movie, then.
Right. So another one is Kowalski's use of the mobile unit. He's at the very beginning. He's flying around. He's doing like this little joyride. And granted, it's supposed to be his last mission, and I think he's taking some liberties. He's just like, psh, psh,
what are they going to do? Fire him?
Psh. Yeah, get down here. You're fired.
He's done as soon as he gets home. He's like, I'm done anyway. Right. So I might as well enjoy this.
It was a bit zipping around like that might have been a little unrealistic because NASA spacewalks are strictly choreographed. They know they practice going on even in weightlessness underwater. I'm doing this thing. I'm taking out this module. I'm putting another module in and so forth. All of that is practice, but still, this is dude. And you're right. There are a couple others out there that we can nitpick about, but the very fact that we're even looking at this level of accuracy says a lot. You would not discuss angular momentum and stable orbits when talking about like the Millennium Falcon.
Star Wars.
You wouldn't even get to that level.
You wouldn't do
this
level of critique on them just because they didn't try to be that accurate.
Right. So if you like this type of movie, and this would be similar to like Apollo 13 and some other space movies that are specifically near Earth or talking about astronauts and so forth, this would be one of those that you would rank up to say, okay, this one would be good to see in terms of accuracy and so forth. So if you like this kind of movie, it's probably way up there. If you don't like the long shots, the slow pacing and things like that, and parts of the movie, or the over the top, come on, really, what else can go wrong? Then this movie wouldn't be for you. Any last comments before we wrap it up? Yeah, so pretty simple, straightforward, I think. I wish I could see this in an IMAX, but that ship has sailed. Coming up on Thursday, we're going to be looking at why those books in the New Testament and why others were censored. They were taken out, stripped out of the New Testament.
We might be doing that next week, not this week.
No, well, we're testing. We'll see. There's an apprehension to see whether we're going back and forth or not, if this is going to be done on Thursday. If not, we're going to have a replacement for it. But the long and short of it, they weren't censored. The New Testament was pretty much already just chosen over time. It was just a matter when they had these councils later on and so forth. It was just like, yep, that's good. We already have it. We already know it's there and so forth. Don't mean to spoil it, but that's really the long and short of it. So until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you then.